Tonight, he died in hospital. He should have died at home. A mother's pain at delays in getting her son the right care package.
I think the whole care system should take a big shake, and there should be, things should be made easier for people. I just feel as if I was robbed, and he was robbed.
Also tonight, life sentences for a Glasgow gangland shooting. 4 men are jailed for murdering Kenny Riley as he sat in his car at traffic lights in Maryhill.
Another day, another party picture. A Downing Street Christmas quiz which may have breached COVID rules piles more pressure on the Prime Minister.
And in sport, a big night in the Premiership title race as Rangers host Hibs and Celtic travel north to face Aberdeen.
I'm Emma Cameron in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. A grieving mother says she feels robbed and her son deserved more dignity after he died following 19 months in hospital. She feels he could have spent his last year at home, but no suitable care package could be found. Emma Finlay wants urgent action to tackle the number of adults with learning disabilities living in hospital or unable to live in the community of their choice.
A charity says 67 people are stuck in this position. 7 have been in hospital for more than a decade. The charity Enable Scotland describes the situation as a human rights scandal. Here's our chief reporter, Sharon Frew.
Emma Finlay says during her son's final days, she felt powerless.
He wanted to come home. The last 12, 14 months, he just wanted to come home. Nothing that I could do could make it better.
Keith Finlay had a progressive degenerative disease. After years in care homes, the 30-year-old was admitted to hospital after a seizure in April 2020. Keith's mother said although it was known his life was limited, doctors said he was medically fit for release. By November last year, Keith was still in hospital. Emma said the possibility of a new care package was finally discussed, but it was too late. Keith died days later.
We couldn't get the meetings fixed up, we couldn't get the system to move. It should have been done so much sooner. His life could have been so much more kind of dignified. I think the whole care system should take a big shake, and there should be, things should be made easier for people.
South Lanarkshire Council, the local authority responsible, said it cannot discuss individual cases, but it has offered its sincere condolences to Keith's mother. It added in the face of well-publicised ongoing challenges, its community teams and hospital colleagues continue to work closely together to provide safe patient care. Enable Scotland say this is far from an isolated situation.
And that's the absolute worst case scenario. But what that demonstrates is that every single day that we wait for publication of strong leadership and strong guidance is a day of an individual's life that has passed without that right to be at home with the people they love and in the communities they choose.
While calling for more national investment, the charity says better decisions need to be made about the money being spent on social care right now. The Scottish Government created a new £20 million fund to help local authorities to tackle the rising number of people placed in care out with their area and those affected by delayed discharge. Emma says she's been left unable to grieve properly for her son, who adored his favourite football team, and so much more.
Family, love and fight. Oh, he seemed to be always fighting for things to happen. Oh, he had so much love. Even although he was never allowed to come home, there's nothing that we didn't do together, you know. Oh, I just feel as if I was robbed, and he was robbed.
COSLA, the organisation that represents Scotland's local authorities, says it recognises the significant issues faced by individuals and their families, and it will shortly publish new recommendations. Enable says it wants a clear timetable of action in place by next year. Sharon Frew, STV News.
4 members of a criminal gang who carried out what a judge called an assassination in Glasgow have been jailed for life. Their victim, Kenny Riley, was shot in the head as he sat in a car. The murder in Maryhill in 2018 was the escalation of a dispute over drugs and money. Our senior reporter Gordon Cree has the story.
CCTV pictures of what happened here were shown to the jury in this trial. The images of a gangland execution are shocking and they've not been publicly released. Tonight, the 4 men responsible are behind bars.
It brings to the end a 3.5-year challenging investigation for myself personally and for my inquiry team. But more than that, I'm really pleased for the family of Kenny Riley, who have had to wait a considerable period of time to see the people responsible for the death of their loved one face justice, which clearly they have done today.
The trial had heard that in April 2018 a friend of Kenny Riley had come to Billsland Drive to pick him up. She said they then stopped at traffic lights and another car pulled up alongside.
Somebody came out of the back seats wearing all black, a black balaclava, and started shooting at my car. I didn't think I had the words for it. It was every single emotion ever. I didn't know whether to drive. I know I needed to phone the police. I knew I needed to phone an ambulance. I was trying to remain calm because I knew Kenny had obviously suffered a severe injury.
He died in hospital 2 days later from a single gunshot wound to the head. 4 men have been convicted. 30-year-old Darren Eadie organised the plot. His father, Morton Eadie, who's 56, acted as the getaway driver. 30-year-old Ross Fisher stole the car used and set fire to it following the murder. And 41-year-old John Kennedy was the gunman. Detectives found the 4 men had been in regular phone contact before the killing, but the calls stopped afterwards. The trial heard from a prisoner Kennedy had shared a cell with in Barlinnie that he'd confessed to the shooting and said it was about drugs and money, claiming Riley owed £100,000 to another man. The judge, Lord Beckett, told the men that people who are prepared to engage in such a meticulously planned and ruthlessly perpetrated assassination on the streets of our cities can expect substantial punishment. He sentenced them all to life with minimum terms of more than 20 years and warned them that even then it will be up to the parole board to decide if they can be released. Tonight, police said this result shows those responsible for organised crime will be brought to justice. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
The Prime Minister is facing more questions over parties tonight after a picture emerged of him at a Downing Street Christmas quiz next to an open bottle of champagne.
The image was published halfway through a session of Prime Minister's questions this afternoon. Live now to our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson. And Catherine, this is prompting calls for the event to be looked at by police.
Yes, look, this new image comes from the 15th of December 2020, and when it emerged right in the heart of Prime Minister's questions, you could see the MPs looking at their phones, showing each other what was going on. Now, in the image, you can see Boris Johnson pictured with other staff. One is wearing tinsel, and then there is this open bottle of alcohol there too. Now, this came at a time in London when Christmas parties were banned, and MPs were quick off their feet in the Commons to challenge the Prime Minister.
The photograph referred to is all over social media. Everybody can see the photo. The Prime Minister is in the photo. So can I ask him again, will he refer to the matter to the police? Because this is not one of the parties already being investigated by the Metropolitan Police.
Prime Minister! That's precisely the point, Mr. Speaker. It already has been. That event already has been submitted for investigation.
Slightly confusing response there from the Prime Minister, because this event was not on the list of those being investigated by the Met. However, in the last hour, Scotland Yard now says it is reviewing its assessment that this quiz did not meet the threshold for criminal investigation. Now, this comes at a terrible time for the Prime Minister, who tried to, of course, reset his top team yesterday. He was trying to reset his course ahead of the House rising for recess tomorrow. And remember, we were told police were given around 300 images as part of investigations. So I think there is a weariness from Tory MPs tonight, perhaps also a nervousness too that more leaks could yet come.
Catherine, a lively sounding Westminster, thank you.
Meanwhile, Boris Johnson's also been saying he hopes to scrap all COVID self-isolation rules and restrictions in England by the end of this month. But that won't be the case in Scotland. Well, let's go straight to our political editor, Colin Mackay in Holyrood. So, Colin, what's the difference?
Do you know, Emma, I think the Prime Minister took pretty much everyone by surprise with this announcement today, because although COVID cases, Omicron cases in particular, have been coming down from that high point at the turn of the year, it's nowhere near gone yet. And, you know, in actual fact, the Office for National Statistics suggests that the numbers were actually going up in both Scotland and England over the course of the last week. But nevertheless, the Prime Minister clearly feels that case numbers have reduced enough for him to take this major step in England.
Provided the current encouraging trends in the data continue, it is my expectation that we will be able to end the last domestic restrictions, including the legal requirement to self-isolate if you test positive, a full month early, Mr. Speaker.
Now, we've seen a lot from scientists, from experts over the last couple of years about COVID. Now, some of them have taken to Twitter today, say that this is not a science-based decision, that it's a political decision. But it's not a political decision that Scottish ministers are willing to take. In fact, they're considering at the moment extending the current regulations until September.
We've had no detail of it. We were given no forewarning. The first time I saw it was in newspaper articles after PMQs. And so we're desperately asking for the detail, because this could have huge implications for testing. It could have huge implications, of course, for cases rising right across the UK. So we need the detail, but it doesn't look like this policy has been thought out.
Now, the huge implications that the Health Secretary is talking about for testing there is because of the cost of these things. We've all got them in our houses. It's about 10 to 15 million pounds a week for the cost of these in Scotland. It's about £20 for one of these boxes. Now, the Scottish Government simply couldn't afford to do that on their own. They can only do it at the moment because it's part of a UK-wide system. So there's a row coming on funding of that. There's also a row coming tomorrow on funding when we get the budget, because the Scottish Government say the £290 million they thought they were getting extra to spend on things like helping people with council tax and the cost of living isn't maybe new money after all.
OK, Colin, many thanks for that. The drug naloxone can be the difference between life and death, reversing the effects of an opioid overdose. Police officers routinely carry the nasal spray, and now firefighters are being offered the same training.
But the Fire Brigade Union is already criticising the move, saying the service is not a sticking plaster to deal with Scotland's spiralling drug deaths. Lynn Rankin reports.
If somebody was aware of naloxone or had naloxone, my brother would still be here to this day. My daughter's mum, she'd still be here to this day. And plenty of other people as well. Eh?
Gary has lost the two people closest to his heart to drugs. He now carries naloxone, which reverses the effects of an opioid overdose, to save others from the same heartache.
You never know when you're going to have to use it. I've used it once, and it just so happened to be a boy that basically grew up with, so it's a good thing to carry it, because you never know.
Administering naloxone to casualty.
Firefighters in Scotland are now being offered the chance to carry naloxone too. One of the first to volunteer to take a kit is Group Commander Paul Blackwood, who knows only too well the devastation of drugs.
My best friend at the age of 19 died from a drugs overdose, and that was from addiction to drugs from the age of 15. So that was a personal motivation for me to be able to save somebody's life with this critical medicine of naloxone.
The First Minister and Drugs Minister Angela Constance were at a station in Bathgate today to see how the nasal spray works and how it, along with other measures, will help save lives.
Trying to speed up the access to treatment for people who need drugs treatment, the improvement and expansion of community services, and obviously work around prevention, stopping people using drugs in the first place. So there is a whole package of measures that are being taken. Yes, the whole point of this is to see a reduction, and I want to see a significant reduction in the lives that are lost and wasted.
1,339 people died from drugs in 2020. Police officers trialling naloxone in 3 parts of Scotland have so far saved 53 lives. It's up to firefighters to decide whether to carry the treatment. But the Fire Brigade Union has previously criticised the move, saying the service is not a sticking plaster to deal with drug deaths. Lynn Rankin, STV News.
Time for other stories across Scotland now, and a fifth of businesses expect to cut back this year due to increasing energy prices. But the Fraser of Allender Institute also found just 7% of companies are predicting strong growth across the next 12 months.
Researchers at Glasgow University have discovered the bat virus believed to have been the origin of COVID-19 may not have been the source. A study did trace the virus to horseshoe bats, but suggested the original ancestor of the disease is yet to be discovered. Scientists at Glasgow also call for more research into viruses in the wild, warning there could be other dangerous ones circulating.
More ScotRail services should be running from Monday. Services were cut at Christmas when around 450 workers were off sick amid the Omicron COVID wave. The new timetable will offer around 2,000 services a day, but that still falls short of the number of trains running before the pandemic.
The former Rangers owner, Craig White, has appeared in court accused of failing to provide passwords for various laptops and phones to the Financial Conduct Authority. The 51-year-old appeared at Manchester Crown Court via video link. No plea was entered, with a provisional trial date set for September. Now the sport with Rama.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Good evening. There's a full fixture card in the Premiership tonight. Leaders Celtic are away to Aberdeen. Rangers, who trail their city rivals by a point, are at home to Hibernian. Live now to Ronnie Charters, who's at Ibrox. Ronnie.
Yeah, Raman, Sunday was the visit of Hearts. Tonight it is the turn of Hibs to face Rangers, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst will certainly be hoping for the same type of performance against the green side of Edinburgh as they produced against the maroon side of the capital. Fair to say the Rangers players and management team received a bit of a backlash after that Old Firm derby defeat, but boy did they respond well in that 5-0 blistering win over Hearts. And as the title race now really begins to ramp up, Van Bronckhorst is hoping that's the standard now set for the rest of the season.
We show the way we can play, and that's our standards. That's the level you want to reach every game. Not only playing wise, tactically, but also character wise. And this is definitely the way to go forward and to make sure we keep those levels high.
And Ronnie, Celtic are looking to continue their very good run in the Premiership tonight.
Yes, Ange Postecoglou takes his players north to face Stephen Glass's Aberdeen. And when you look at the numbers Celtic are setting at the moment, they really are hitting top form at the right moment. 12 league wins out of the last 13. That includes 8 clean sheets. And of course, that 4-0 win over Motherwell at the weekend. Most importantly of all, they currently sit top of the table. The same can't be said for Aberdeen. Their opponents tonight, though, Stephen Glass's men, not doing well. Poor run of results and currently sit 7th.
They've got some really good players. I mean, they're a good quality squad. You see them, against Rangers a few weeks back, and they looked a strong outfit. So you kind of go in there expecting them to be at their best, and at their best, they're a tough opponents, particularly on their home ground. So, the lack of form or the lack of results over recent times, I think, is more of an issue for them than us.
Team news, and David Turnbull and Kyogo remain out for this one, but Yosuke Ideguchi did train this week, so he could be in the squad. The title race is certainly hotting up, Raman. There is no room for error for either side of the Old Firm. Celtic are currently setting the pace. Rangers are hopeful to capitalise on any mistakes. Kick-off in both matches tonight, 7:45.
Ronnie, live at Ibrox, thanks very much for that. Motherwell manager Graham Alexander admits he got his tactics wrong against Celtic at the weekend, but hopes he can get them right when his team face Dundee United tonight. The Steelmen sit 4th in the table. There are all of the Premiership games taking place. 3rd place Hearts are at home to Dundee. It's Ross County against Livingston, and St Mirren, who have won 4 of the last 5 games, host St Johnstone.
I think we're in a really good place at the moment. And yeah, you're right to mention, the Rangers' defeat is our only win in the last 8 games, I think. We've tightened things up at the back. We've got a better shape to us now. The boys have really bought into what we're asking them to do. And, we've had a few clean sheets of late as well.
It's been a difficult spell, but we're still in a good position. But, we know eventually we're going to have to start winning games again if we want to maintain that and stay in the top 6. So we always look at the next opportunity, and the next opportunity is Dundee United away, and that's what we've got to take on. But there's still loads to play for. There's still loads to be optimistic about.
Rugby, and Grant Gilchrist hopes to celebrate his 50th Scotland cap by ending a long wait for a win in Cardiff. The Lock believes Gregor Townsend's side can take heart from last year's historic wins away to England and France, and admits if he's picked, it will be a special occasion for him and his family.
Yeah, it'll be a hugely proud day, and something I've worked really hard for, and I know it'll mean so much to my family and everybody. So yeah, if selected, I hope it'll be a great achievement and something that I'll be really proud of. It'll certainly mean a hell of a lot more if we go down to Wales and get the win, and that'll be my focus if I'm selected.
More from the Scotland camp tomorrow. Finally, in snooker, John Higgins hit 3 centuries as he progressed to the quarterfinals of the Players' Championship. The Wizard of Wishaw lost the first 2 frames against Hussein Vafai, but he fought back to win by 6 frames to 3. He'll face Jamie Robertson next. Just got time to tell you, Andy Murray and Cameron Norrie are in action tonight. They are in action in the World Tennis Tournament in Rotterdam.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now Sean has the weather, and look out for some expressive arm action.
Well, as I said yesterday, we've got that pendulum of weather continuing at the moment, going between the colder weather, then back to milder, wetter and windier weather. We've certainly been going back into the colder air over the last 24 hours, but this time the colder air is going to stick around a wee while longer. We've also got some stormy conditions coming back in tomorrow morning, especially the northwest and central parts of the country. Blizzards over higher ground. There's a lot going on in the next 24 hours. Let's have a look at what's in store where you live.
Watch out for a sudden temperature drop. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Well, between now and about lunchtime tomorrow, we've got some very unsettled weather to get out of the way. Strong and gusty winds through tomorrow morning, and through this evening and into tomorrow morning, we've got lots of wintry showers around, most frequent in western parts. But you'll notice today, even at lower levels, what you get is a rain shower coming along. And then as the freezing level drops, as the shower turns heavier, you get some snow right down to low levels. Still settling snow over higher levels through this evening and tonight. Some slushy snow possible at lower levels, and some icy patches as well. But the other thing we're going to notice is that wind picking up. Now in these shaded areas, that's where I expect winds to gust 60 to maybe 70 miles per hour in the most exposed areas. So around the Ardnamurchan area, the Small Isles, Coll, Tiree, parts of Mull, Jura, Isla and also Colonsay. Some very gusty winds here. Now the shaded area doesn't extend its way into the likes of Arran and also Inverclyde and Bartonshire, Glasgow, Renfrewshire. However, I do expect we'll see a little bit of a squeeze in the winds through the central belt tomorrow morning. So even here we could get gusts of wind up to about 50 miles per hour. Not enough generally to cause damage. However, of course, given the recent storms, we've got a lot of weakened structures out there. Also, I've noticed lots of trees, like you probably have as well, next to the roads that are just leaning against the tree next to it. Now, that means there's already been some damage done to them, and it doesn't take too much to finish the job. So there's a possibility still some trees could come down, even though the winds are not as strong as they have been recently. So tomorrow morning, not a great start today. We've got those strong winds, we've got the snow over higher ground, the rain, but that all eases off. Then as we move into Friday, sunshine and scattered showers, quieter wind-wise. Then on Saturday, windier, milder and wetter. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather. Well, that's all from us tonight. Rona's here with Scotland Tonight at 10:40, looking at the COVID picture both here and across the rest of the world.
But from all of us here, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.